Yo, ignore the green screen behind me, or maybe you can't even tell it's a green screen right now. Let's just green screen, right? Cool, we're on the same page. It is really messed up. I know. I have a flight in 7 hours. I just gotta get my thoughts out onto YouTube, so pardon the scuffness of this video.
Yeah.
So, if you know me, I'm a huge Zelda fan. I've talked about Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Spirit Tracks, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. You name it on the channel. There's plenty of different content out there of me talking about Zelda. I love it. It's just, if I could be in any in-game universe, obviously not as an NPC, it'd be Zelda. I love Zelda. It's great. Lately, even with Zelda games, I've been in a slump when it comes to gaming in general. I don't believe this is completely at fault of the state of games, even though it kind of is, because there are games that are out there that are pretty good. You got Elden Ring, you got that new Myth Wukong game, Tekken is up there, Persona 3, Final Fantasy 7. There's plenty. There's a lot of games that have come out. Oh, and I just got slacked. Anyway, like I was saying, there's plenty of games that are good. It's not like the whole industry is shit. But I do think that there's been some lack of just ingenuity with some of these games. And what I mean by that is a lot of these games are fun. They're cool. I'll pick them up, and around maybe like 5 to 10 minutes in, I'm realizing I'm not going to get further than maybe the third stage or level. Like, truly, this isn't going anywhere. And it doesn't. Even Tears of the Kingdom, which was my game of the year of 2023, I thought was a fantastic game. It definitely pushed the Zelda envelope a little further with what already built in Breath of the Wild. However, honestly, it didn't feel too different at times. Don't get me wrong, constructing stuff was really cool, and you can get really creative with like what you can do with the environment. However, it still very much felt like Breath of the Wild at its core, and that's why for me, I struggled really finishing the game. And I don't mean 100%ing it, just finishing it. And I know I'm nitpicking. It's a great game. It's just I lack the drive to really push forward. And I'm getting that with a lot of these games. However, there's one game that just came out that I completely forgot was coming out. Funny enough, is out the game. Called Echoes of Wisdom. That game is the reason behind this video and why I've put a lot of hours playing a Zelda game again. When Echoes of Wisdom came out, I honestly didn't think too much about the game. I expected it to be a good game. I pre-ordered and everything thinking it's gonna be like Link's Awakening, and I was a big fan of Link's Awakening remake that came out in 2020. I was excited for it, but not too much. I kind of completely forgot about the game, to be honest with you, after the pre-order. But I was still excited when I remembered, oh, the game comes out Friday, and it was already downloaded on my Switch, ready for me to play around like 7 p.m. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna chill out. It's been a long week. I'll probably play a couple minutes of this, and I'll get the same feeling I have for any other game where I'll kind of want to drop it after a bit, but at least I'll have a little bit fun with my favorite franchise. That's not what happened. This game took the best bits of Link's Awakening, in my opinion, and Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, whatever you want to pick, and blends them really, really well. I'll start with just the basics of like how the game looks, but I really want to touch upon another element of the game that I think is the real driving reason why I think this game needs to be talked about more, even though it's only been a couple days since it came out, but needs to be praised. So let's get into it. Link's Awakening, the remake, was very stunning to look at. I mean, I think you can still play it now, and you'll probably have the same feeling you did if you played in 2020. It's just breathtaking. It's a really beautiful HD version or remake of the original game. Kind of like the Wind Waker treatment, where Wind Waker was already kind of cool for its time. I know I got a lot of slack back then, but I thought it was pretty cool for its time. And the remake kind of highlighted how cool that aesthetic is, especially in the modern age. And you get that with Link's Awakening, but you especially get it with Echoes of Wisdom. The game has really slick aesthetics with water effects, like little different kind of shadings on trees and houses, and the lighting is just really done well. Even the sound design at times, I kind of found myself going, ooh, that sounds really nice, like going up ladders or killing enemies or throwing a rock on something. The sound just felt nice to me. The whole five senses felt very pleased playing this game. But I think what's really cool is Link's Awakening kind of grabs that like Easter eggish kind of element of adding the Breath of the Wild style to the 2D Zelda platform. You have clearly Breath of the Wild inspired UI. The cloak that Zelda and Link wears is clearly a reference to that old Breath of the Wild design too. Even the sword and bomb and arrows that Link at the beginning of the game uses, which I think maybe we'll use later as Zelda, not sure yet, has that like fragmented kind of carving dungeon-esque. I don't know what I'm saying. It's like a Breath of the Wild feel. You'll see what I'm talking about if you see it. It's like Sheikah Slate kind of like look to it. It's hard to describe, but it definitely has that element. And I like that a lot. I feel like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom has a really cool aesthetic. And it shouldn't just live on the Switch on the 3D games. It should also live in other 2D games like this one. And I think they did a flawless job executing that. As much as I love the 2D Zelda games, it's kind of fair to say the sword gameplay is pretty uneventful. And it's kind of like a spam fest. Like in Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, the Zelda 1, Zelda 2, you're just smashing the B button to swing the sword to kill enemies when they're exposed, or when you solve a puzzle to open up a path to fight an enemy. That's it. You're just smashing B. There's really nothing else. Maybe you hold down B for like the spin attack, but sword gameplay really was never that anything crazy in the 2D Zelda games. And it makes sense. Like, how do you make crazy on a 2D platform? Echoes of Wisdom knows this and does a really good job of removing that spammy sword play mechanic and introduces a new way of fighting or solving puzzles, with 5% of it still being kind of swordplay, which I'll get to in a minute. Instead of relying on swords and shields and arrows or bombs, I think at least so far, Zelda in the game relies on what's called the Echo system, I think. It's introduced via this like Navi Fee-esque kind of character called Tri, which I think is a clear reference to the Triforce. Tri gives Zelda the ability to create echoes, which essentially are carbon copies of any objects, items, or enemies that you see in the overworld or underworld, anywhere in the game, really. Zelda with echoes can copy virtually anything that you kind of see or can interact with. The ability introduces that same kind of core gameplay mechanic, but really smart or really wisely through the 2D engine. As long as the item or the thing you want to copy isn't attached to the overworld, like as an asset per se, you're usually safe to copy and use it, which makes your mind kind of spiral and think, damn, what can I do then? Because I can probably tackle any enemy or any puzzle, like in Breath of the Wild, from 20,000 different perspectives. And that's really cool that they're able to do that in this 2D, once again 2D, not large, 2D engine. That's really impressive. Listen, in the first 30 minutes of gameplay, I was shocked at how fun copying and using random crap was. This definitely has to be because you learn how to copy over like 30 items in just 30 minutes. The list you learn grows faster and faster by the second. And if you're like me, my mind starts to churn over the sheer amount of creative solutions that you can spin up with so many tools. You can use a trampoline to get onto a crate, to then delete the trampoline, to then create a tall bush with another trampoline on it to reach a high cliff. Or use meat to bait moblins. To set up key bats behind them. Even like small items that are out of reach or puzzles provided immediately make me think of ways to solve said puzzles in a new way that I haven't yet tried yet, or I wouldn't even think about trying if I was just playing this game as Link with a sword and shield. The thing is, I think that's what it is. The game itself is making me really push my brain to think of new creative ways to solve problems, which I think is something we don't really have anymore in a lot of games we play. I'm just being honest. I love a lot of the games that have come out recently, but they don't really have that mind-pushing element that this does. And I'm not saying you have to be a genius to play a game. I'm not saying you have to be a brainiac or a 10,000 plus IQ or big brain, but there are moments where you definitely need to think to yourself, how can I solve this? And sometimes if you're like me, you're going to think of how can I solve this in a way I haven't done before, because I'm kind of curious, where can I push the game where it's allowed to be pushed. Instead of blindly swinging the sword with the B button, like I mentioned before, I have to get creative as to what enemies are best used against other enemies. Or maybe even devise the best distraction to distract an enemy to get them from a blind spot with another item that I have in my inventory. Like some enemies burn easily due to those like ignites, I think they're called, the small little putty guys with fire on them. Some fly high, so you have to kill them with key bats because you don't really have arrows. Some even use armor, so I have to summon like a large enemy, or maybe summon something that really messes with the environment around, so they sink somewhere or fall into a body of water, something that I don't have to interact with them physically. And you can see this especially in the first boss, I think, of the game. Spoiler alert, it's Link. You fight like a dark version of Link, and Link is extremely tough, obviously. He's like fully kitted out with his sword and shield. And when you're fighting him, you don't have one. So it's pretty interesting to see how you have to maneuver around Link and get him in areas where you normally wouldn't even think about doing for any other fight. Like, I feel like majority of the boss and enemies I fight in the Zelda games, especially the 2D ones, couple swings, couple bombs, couple arrows, are dead. But here, I feel like I was spending maybe even like 15 minutes on just Dark Link, because I had to really make sure I was not going to get hit by him, or I would die easily on hero mode. Or honestly, if I didn't play it right, I would waste my or if I didn't play it right, I would waste tries, like supply tank or energy tank, I think you can call it. And I would have to quickly conjure up an enemy or an item if that runs out. And by doing that, I kind of expose myself to Link swinging at me or beating me up while I'm conjuring up a new item. It's interesting. It's just like, it's something I didn't really think Zelda would ever lean into, not using a sword and shield, but it kind of works in scenario, and I think it's very smart. Not relying on, like, you know, brute strength, which you can at points. There is like that 5% I mentioned earlier that's still Link sword and shield play. There's an element that lets you transform to Link to use a sword and shield, so if you really want to, you can lean on that, but you only have a small timer to use that. So it's really cool because it forces you to use your brain and use the items at your disposal and not just rely on Link's brute strength for everything. It's pretty cool. I don't know. To me, I think Zelda just keeps proving that they figured out the environmental gameplay. It's why I fell in love with Breath of the Wild. It's why I loved Tears of the Kingdom, but felt like it was kind of stale because it still very much was leaning on what Breath of the Wild did. But this feels like leaning on Breath of the Wild, but pushing it to a new engine, which I didn't even think was possible. It's crazy to see like what Zelda can do with environmental storytelling and interaction at 2D and 3D. And if they keep this up, I don't even know what's next, but I'm so for it. Like, I don't know. Maybe somehow they redo Ocarina of Time with the like environmental kind of factor put into it. I doubt it, but that'd be kind of cool. They should definitely do Oracle Seasons and Ages with this, by the way. Like, that was a game that really messed with the season, so get to it. Anyway, I just had to ramble real quick. It's some thoughts I had on Echoes of Wisdom. Like I said, I really love the game a lot. I think you guys should check it out. It just came out like a couple days ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm gonna bring my Switch to Europe just to play this thing on the flight, because fuck me, man, it's fun. It's really fun. Anyway, if you like the video, please comment, subscribe. Sorry once again, this is kind of scuffed, but I just had to get some thoughts out. I just really want to get my love of Zelda out there somehow. Let me know what you guys think of the game, and this has been Simon from Panic Brothers, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.